Hello, everybody, and welcome to Comics and Coffee, starting your day out the nerdy way. I am Bobby Shortle, and I'm here with Mara Wood.
I'm back.
This is OG Comics and Coffee right here.
So weird.
It's very weird, very, very weird. Nikki is, well, first we want to say happy birthday to Nikki because yesterday was her birthday. And then today she is graduating, so congratulations as well. But she will be back next week. But I have a very competent co-host to help me out for this week off for Nikki. Uh,
I
don't
appreciate
let
the
me down,
compliment.
Mara. Don't let me down, Mara. I know. It meant to be a bigger compliment, but I don't know what happened. It got away from me in the middle of it. I don't know what happened. So, Mara, how are you doing?
Doing fine. This is first day off for me. So I'll have 2 days off a week because school is closed. And I am wrapping up a paper on feminist icons in Star Wars and the importance of representation and things like that in media. And I was like, it's due on Monday, or it's due to the editor on Monday. And it's kind of one of those things where I'm like, I can watch another episode of Clone Wars. I got time. Let's rewatch all of Outlander, and then you know.
I will say you are always working and always doing school stuff, but it seems to me like you your school stuff is the same stuff that you would write on your own time.
Yeah, actually, I work very hard to make that possible. I dig my heels in a lot. I'm like, I'm not writing about anything other than comics, and it
That's a really
works.
good thing, though.
Yeah, yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, I think everybody wishes they could do something like that. Um, so, so, what books did you read so far this week, Mara?
Oh
Anything?
gosh, yeah. I've got my trusty list that I check off as I go in my spreadsheet where I keep track of everything. That I mean, I've got Big Con Job #4, Harrow County #2, Rebels, Gotham Academy, Black Science, Chrononauts, Descender, Injection, Mantle, Saga, Star of Walking Dead, Kanan, 1602, Angela Witch Hunter, and Captain Marvel and the Carol Corps. Oh, and Rachel Rising. Forgot to check that
You
one
read
off.
all of those already?
This week, yes.
Wow, Mara, you've been busy.
Well, I keep a very strict comics reading schedule as well. Otherwise, I never get through it.
Right. So, what was your favorite thing so far?
Let's see. I really, of course, Kanan. I mean, come on. But
I
Chrononauts,
read a couple of pretty negative reviews of Kanan.
uh, they can go sit on a broom or something. I
That's
still
some
like it.
strong words, Mara. This is strong words.
I will say I was pleasantly surprised by Angela Witch Hunter, or Witch Hunter Angela, or whatever it's called. But
Mhm.
um, as usual, Rachel Rising gave me a lot of feels. Terry Moore, he's amazing. I don't know if you're not reading Rachel Rising, people, you need to read it. It is hands down like one of the best comics coming out each month.
I have really, you know what? Like, at some point they sort of said it was going to be over, like at a
Mhm.
certain number, and then it seems like they've kind of pulled back on that, and it's just going, I guess, until he's done at this point, which
Mhm.
is great. But I kind of was like, okay, I'm just going to stop reading until it's done because it has a set number, and now it's not done, and now I feel like I've just like lost the thread
Like
on
the
Rachel Rising.
momentum.
Exactly, exactly. I
And
was like, I'll just wait till it's all out and I'll read it all, and then it's not happening. So I'm a little bit sad that I kind of dropped off of it.
yeah. And I was wondering if it was going to be like a 60 issue book or a 40 issue book, but I mean that 34 just came out this week, and I can't imagine it ending at 40 for sure. And I think that it's been in previews a couple more times. Like I know I've ordered it again recently, but yeah. Did
Um,
you read? Are you reading Secret Wars stuff?
yeah, I haven't read anything yet. I just got my books last night,
Okay.
so the only stuff I've read is Batman, which we're gonna talk a little bit about, 41, and what else did I read? Oh, Gotham Academy. That's what else I read
Yeah.
this week. I will say. Gotham Academy was still very good, but it felt more straight, like kiddie than I think it's ever felt to me before, and I don't know why that
I
is.
I loved it. I don't like Damian Wayne, but I like Damian Wayne in places where he shouldn't be.
Mara, I'm just gonna hang up this call on you right now. Did you really just say you don't like Damian
Well,
Wayne?
I think the reason I don't like him is because I don't read a whole lot of like Batman stuff, and I never read Batman and Robin, and when he died, I was kind of like, okay, whatever. But
Mm-hmm.
like my favorite issue of Batgirl is number 17, the Stephanie Brown run, where he shows up and he's all. And I feel like my favorite issue of Gotham Academy is this one where he shows up too. So maybe I do like Damian Wayne, and I just am in denial about it. But I love it when he just shows up in places where I don't think he should be.
Well,
He
yeah,
don't belong here.
if you like Damian Wayne showing up and making that specific face that you just made that he
Yeah.
makes, exactly. Uh, I think that you would like him in general because that's generally the way he is in everything that he's in.
Just a
Um,
little turd.
he is a little turd, but that's what's so great about him is that
Yeah.
he's a little turd, except he is also a really big badass and pretty
Mm-hmm.
awesome. Um, and he's much less of a turd now than he used to be. He used to be much more of a turd, and now he's a little bit nicer. He's a little bit of a kinder, softer Damian Wayne at this point. Um, but definitely, I love that Damian Wayne was in it. Uh, I guess a little disappointed that he's not going to be in it more. And that's not
Mm-hmm.
really a spoiler. I mean, it's kind of like a one issue thing, but how they set it up in the last issue, I thought he was going to kind of be.
Like a recurring student or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess it's a good thing that he's not because you want those characters to be able to live on their own and to kind
Mm-hmm.
of do their own thing. And having a Batman character in there, that automatically is going to become kind of the character that people focus on the most. Like I love Gotham Academy, but as soon as they said Damian Wayne was in it, I was like, oh my god, I can't wait to read Damian Wayne. And it changed from being like I can't wait to read Gotham Academy until I can't wait to read Damian Wayne. So
Mm-hmm.
um, maybe it's a good thing that
Yeah,
they
I think
decided
it's
to do the
important
one issue.
for those characters to have, they're new characters, they're original creations, and I like the idea that they're kind of loosely affiliated with Gotham and Batman, but they're still able to stand on their own. And like you said, if you threw Damian Wayne in there, yeah, it
Yeah,
becomes less about them and more about Batman,
exactly.
essentially.
Exactly. So it's the only two things I've read. I've got a huge pile of stuff to read. It's actually right in front of me here. Let's see what else. I don't have a cool list like you, Mara. Uh,
You got to keep organized.
yeah, you got to tell me about this spreadsheet. Like, how dedicated are you to updating it and keeping it all together?
It's a Google Sheet, so I have
Mhm.
access to it on my phone, computer, iPad, and looking at it right now. And basically, I'm at 395 single issues, graphic novels, and manga. So I really should have just spread it out to the individual issues, but I wasn't thinking when I started it. But I keep track of what issue I've read, the series, the writer, the artist, whether or not they're male or female, the date I started, the date I finished, the year it came out, the publisher, and then whether or not it's paper or digital. And part of the paper versus digital is me trying to keep track of, you know, I'm research minded. I like to know, what do I naturally gravitate towards? What do I read most of? And it seems like it's actually digital
Mm.
since I started actually counting and keeping track of things.
Well, as we can see from behind you, Mara, you obviously are all digital, no physical stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty bad, isn't it?
There's a lot of well, it depends on your point of view. I think it looks pretty awesome.
Yeah,
So
it's
I wouldn't
it's
say it's bad, but it is a lot of hardcovers behind you.
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, Batman, Gotham Academy. Let's see what else I got. Injection,
Ooh,
which
yes.
I'm very excited for. I really loved the first issue. Saga, and Descender.
That's a
Harrow.
great series.
Yeah, I haven't read almost any of these yet, but Harrow County, like you mentioned before, number two. Um, I'm trying to run through all the not Marvel stuff but first. Constantine Hellblazer, which I'm very excited. Riley Rossimo is the artist. Ming Doyle and James Tynan, which that's how you say his name. It's
Tynan.
Tynan.
Okay, good.
I learned that this past weekend. Writing Earth to Society Detective Comics, which is supposed to star Renee Montoya, so I'm excited about that. All Star Section 8 by Garth Ennis. And Starfire, Jimmy Palmiotti, Amanda Connor, and
I've heard.
Emanuela Lupacino.
I really want to read that one. I didn't put it on my list, and I haven't picked it up. I may have to go out and either grab it or get on Comixology.
Mara, it is our hashtag TCBOTW.
I know.
I'm excited. I mean, obviously, I love Amanda Connor and Jimmy Palmiotti, but Emanuela Lupacino was doing the art on the last 6 issues of Supergirl, and I really, really loved that run. So I'm excited to see that. And then I do have some Secret Wars tie-in stuff. I have Weird World, which I'm really excited to read. Actually, Jason Aaron, Mike Del Mundo. Let's see, 1602 Witch Hunter Angela is the full title, which I'm also excited about. Stephanie Hahn's on the art, and she just does gorgeous stuff. Marvel Zombies, which I heard actually got very good reviews. Cy Spurrier and Kev Walker, and then Captain Marvel and the Carol Corps, obviously.
Yeah,
are the Secret War stuff I've got, and then I've got 3 non-Secret War stuff: Silver Surfer, Spider-Gwen, and Silk.
Yes, do you use Marvel Unlimited?
I do use Marvel Unlimited, yes.
Okay, so I'm trying to get to the point where, kind of like looking through books and because what we buy is what gets published more.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like this weird dance of what's my actual budget, what books do I want to see more of, where can I read them elsewhere, and things like that. And I think Spider-Gwen and Silk are 2 books I'm going to do on Marvel Unlimited, which I'm kind of upset about, but it's just, sometimes your list just gets too long and you're like, well, I can trade weight them. I can do Marvel Unlimited. They seem to have a big enough fan base that it's safe to do that for. And so
but you're going to keep buying Wonder Woman.
Well, hey, the annual was not bad. It was not bad. It wasn't perfect. It was closer to my Diana than it has been for a long time. So, I said this on the Missos and I'll say it again. Maybe Meredith Finch is starting to get it. Maybe she's starting to get into the character and get into the groove and figure out how to write her. So maybe.
Bob also had good things to say about it on Talking Comics. So, and he was upset that he wasn't the first one who got to talk about it as being pretty good. So he was upset that you got the first chance to talk about it. But so yeah, no, I'm excited about the poll. I gotta really just bear down, and the past couple weeks have been really huge with all the relaunches and the Secret Wars stuff. So I've got to really bear down and get on it, or I'm gonna end up falling way behind. And the pile of I haven't read them yet will start to be bigger than the pile of I have read them.
Yeah.
And I already kind of cheated, because what I try to do is I try to, if I don't read something in a week, I try to set it aside and not put it away, and then make sure I read it the next week, or hopefully the next time an issue of that series comes out. But the pile of I haven't read these yet got so big that eventually I was just like, I've just got to put them away. I've got to stash them and now I feel so bad about it. So those are away, and now I have a new pile of stuff I haven't read. And now it's even worse, because now I'm like, oh, I haven't read these, but now I have to go back into the boxes and find the ones before this that I also haven't read, which means I'll never read them.
That seems like a common dilemma for comic book readers.
Yeah.
We keep buying, but we don't read them all.
Yeah, because and it's the series that I'm not reading because I just haven't been that into. I'll drop them in a second. But there are some series that I just love that for some reason I just I 1 week I was too busy, so I missed it, and then I didn't remember that I hadn't read it until the next issue came out. It happened with the X-Men books, with All New and Uncanny, and those come out 2 a month, and honestly, I don't even remember the last issue I read. I couldn't tell you the number of the last issue I read. I need a handy dandy spreadsheet.
I'm telling you,
to let me know.
It's the best thing, and I keep track of my TV shows that way too. And
You are a very studious person, Mara.
I take my entertainment very seriously.
I, I can I can definitely see that. So yeah, the one book I did really read was the first thing I read when I got my books last night was Batman, and this is like the new status quo for Batman. So this it's not a spoiler anymore. But if you are trade waiting Batman, or you're trying to stay away from it, you might not want to know this if somehow you've avoided it by now. But Jim Gordon is Batman now, and some stuff happened. I won't spoil exactly what happened at the end of Endgame, but some stuff led to the fact that Jim Gordon needed to take over the mantle, and it's a little bit different situation, right? It's there's a company, Powers Incorporated, that is um, creating like a new Batman, and they've been training cops, and they want someone to take up this mantle, and that's why you see that big mechanical suit on all the covers and stuff like that. And uh, Jim is in, and they choose Jim because he knows the city best and he's the right person. That's what they say. And so this first issue is the first time we've actually seen him in action, um, and it's a very interesting thing to read a Batman book where not only is Bruce not Batman, but none of the Bat family are Batman, because obviously there have been other Batmen and other people have taken over, but no one like Jim, I think, has ever really been Batman before. And my hope for this series is that, much like when Brew Baker did the Death of Captain America, this will be really a kind of highlight on what makes Batman so special, because Batman isn't there.
Hmm.
Mara, you don't read Batman, right?
I tried during Death of the Family,
Mm-hmm.
and I used to read Gail Simone's Batgirl, so I got a little bit of the tie-ins and things like that way. But I don't know why I don't read Batman, to be honest, because I follow Greg Capullo on Twitter, and I'm always like staring at his artwork and his pencil work, and I love it. And I mean, I was reading American Vampire back when Stephen King was attached to it. And so, and Witches is great, and I don't know. I don't know. And I have it all. Like, that's the thing. It's right there. I buy it every week.
It's so funny. Uh, yeah, it's great, and I love him trying stuff out and trying to be different, and um, I'm excited to see where it all goes. And what I really like is that I don't know if it's just because he's been writing the book for so long, or now he has the freedom to do whatever he wants or whatever. But there's been a certain amount of, and it started a little bit in the 0 year, but it crops up every once in a while. There's a certain amount of irreverence that's kind of crept into his work in a lot of ways. He seems to be having a little bit more fun with what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some specifically things in this issue where he's kind of referencing other looks of Batman, and the designer of the new suit is like going through, like, he can change like the colors and like the stuff on the suit very quickly, and he has little templates, and they're like little like smile like little emoticons that represent what each one is. And it's like the Dark Knight Returns one, and there's like it's a really sad, like angry emoticon, and then there's like 60s Batman, it's a very happy emoticon, and then there's like Grant Morrison, Batman of Zur-En-Arrh, Batman, and it's like a emoticon that looks crazy. So there's all this kind of stuff that is like very irreverent, which I really like that he seems to be going for all of a sudden. And so all that put together makes me pretty happy for see what the future is going to be.
Mm-hmm. Well, he's been writing this for like 4 years now.
It's a little over. I think it's like 3.5.
3.5. He'd probably get bored after a while.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie, but I mean, I feel like with a lot of these superhero stories, you have to keep things a certain way. Like, things really can't change too much, because the next person has to come through and tell a different story. It's not like those indie books where, like in Saga, where anyone could die at any time. Um, and you're just trying to shake things up. And I was reading an article about it, saying that Batman will come back. I mean, Bruce will come back. He always does. Finds a way.
It's true.
If it's time travel, he'll be back. So it's just one of those things where you just enjoy the story while it's going on right now. And I don't understand why people would be. I was trying to see, like, mean, it makes sense to me. I guess I'll say that. As someone who isn't reading Batman, it makes perfect sense to me for this to be a storyline right now.
Yeah, and it's an interesting choice, like not having it be a Robin or a Batgirl or whoever take over the mantle. I think is a very interesting choice, and one that was unexpected. And so he's never let me down in any of the stories that he's done. So I'm very much willing to go along with what he's got and what he's going to do.
You know, the Batman that I used to read pretty regularly was the Dick Grayson one.
Yeah,
I was all over that. That was pretty cool. And Damian Wayne was in it too.
he was. He was the Robin in that.
I thought he was a little snot, to be honest, but
He was a little snot. You said like it's a bad thing, Mara.
no, it's pretty funny. But I love the Dick Grayson Batman because he's just sitting there in the couch just going.
That was when Grant Morrison did that, when he decided to do that, make that team of Grayson as Batman and Damian as Robin. He said the thing he wanted to do was inverse the usual dichotomy between the two characters, which is that usually Robin's kind of like the happy-go-lucky, positive one, and Batman is the dark, brooding one. And with Dick and Damian, it's flipped, right?
Mhm.
Damian is this dark, serious, angry character, and Dick is this kind of like pretty much well-adjusted, happy dude who just happens to, like to punch criminals in their faces
Yeah,
when they get out of line, which I thought was a really cool twist for them to do.
it worked. It worked.
Oh, it totally worked, and I wasn't reading. I wasn't reading comics regularly when that happened, and hearing it as an outsider, I was like, "Who cares if Bruce isn't Batman? I don't care about the book." That was like kind of my feeling as an outsider, and then going back and reading them after the fact, I loved it, and I thought it was such a
Mhm.
great move for them to go with.
Did you ever play Nerd Trivia, like the Twitter game, the
No,
app?
I have not.
Oh, it's amazing. But they send out like every hour on the hour, they send out a question and you get points based on how difficult the question is and everything. But the one season of the series, they had asked a question like, who is Batman? It was like an easy, like 5-point answer. But the time that they asked the question was when Dick Grayson was Batman. So of course I was like, oh, Dick Grayson, and type it in. And they're like, wrong. You are so wrong. Disputed that, by the way. And I got my
Should
points. I
you
was
should?
like,
Yeah, I'm glad.
everyone who's answering Bruce Wayne is actually wrong.
He was Batman. He
Yeah,
isn't Batman,
he is not Batman right
and that
now.
would be the same as of right now
Hmm.
if they asked that same question. I remember we used to do bar trivia a lot. We used to go to bar trivia a lot, and Bob and I were at a trivia and the runner asked what race is Spock, and Spock, for the know, is half human, half Vulcan.
Hmm.
And so now this is kind of being a little bit like snob nerdy. Like we wrote human just so she'd mark it wrong, so we could go up there and be like, well, actually, that's what we did.
That's awesome.
And she was like, all right, she was kind of like, all right, nerds. Like that's kind of like what her reaction was to our
If you
doing that.
ask that question,
That's like you're running a trivia night. I was like, this is what you expect. Um, all that matters in trivia is whether it's right or wrong.
Mhm.
There is nothing else when it comes to it. Um, uh, Milena on Twitter asked, "What do you guys think of the bunny suit Batman? Do you think it'll stay for long?" She said, "I hope not." Um, I think that if you're not reading the story, just the design, I think is a little off-putting. But if you read the story, there are aspects to it and facets to it that I think really make it work in a story sense. And I'm willing to kind of go with whatever is going to happen because it does seem like the bunny suit is sort of like an exoskeleton, and he will be in and out of it, and he has more kind of a more traditional looking Batman suit
Mhm.
as well.
It
So
reminds me of manga, like the
yeah,
design of it.
so you must love it then, Mara.
I was like, this is kind of cool. I might be reading Batman again.
It's got a very like mechy type of look to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So Mara, we were worried about filling time. Our show is almost over, and we talked about one thing. Um, and we had one more question, and that was from Damian Wins, and it's a two-part question.
Okay.
He says, "Should I feel bad for not loving A Force? And how do I get past the on-the-nose names of the DC universe?" And I asked for clarification, and he says, one's like Cyborg, who's a cyborg, Ice, who shoots ice, Fire, who has fire powers. He says, "I know Marvel is just as silly, really, but I really struggle with the DC ones for some reason." So first part of the question, Mara, should he feel bad for not liking A Force?
Mm-mm. Really shouldn't. And, if that's kind of the cool thing about comics, is that there's something out there for everyone. And A Force is loved by certain people. And if you don't like it, you don't like it. And that's fine. I liked it. I thought it was basically written for me. And if you don't like it, there's nothing wrong with that. There's something else out there for you to read.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you shouldn't feel bad about not liking anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really, in the end, it's comic books, and if you don't like them, it doesn't really say anything about you as a person.
No,
Um,
it's cool.
yeah, it's totally cool. I mean, the only issue is if you go out there and you're like vehemently and you're venomous about two people who do like it, then that's a problem.
Yeah.
But if you don't like something, it's totally fine. Totally fine. We on this show and all our podcasts and everything, we get very deep into why we like and don't like things. For a normal person, that doesn't really need to be that. You can just say, "Hey, I don't like this thing," and move on. That's a totally fine thing to do. If you want to look deeper and ask yourself why you don't like it, if it's because of the story, if it's because of the art, if it's because of there's just some stuff you don't like, or you're just not feeling it, totally cool. If there's other reasons why, and maybe they say something more about like biases or something like that, then that's something you have to figure out for yourself. But whether you like it or not, you shouldn't feel bad about not liking a book because other people like it.
Yeah.
And the same thing goes, if you like something that other people don't like, you also shouldn't feel bad about it. I think that's where a lot of like the fights happen on the internet, is that people feel like if somebody doesn't like the thing that they like, that for some reason they don't deserve to like it or something.
Yeah.
And that's not true. Just like what you want to like, and then if other people don't like it, that's cool too. Just move on. As far as the silly name thing go, I mean, I think if you don't like silly names, then you should probably stop reading comic books.
Well, at least the superhero ones, because
that's what I mean. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Superman. I mean, if you think about it, like Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman. I mean, there's a lot of they're so like part of our culture now that we can say them without like smirking or anything like that. But I mean, all superhero names are just kind of really.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and he says, obviously he likes Marvel more, so the Marvel stuff doesn't seem to bother him. And I think that's just what it is. The stuff that you're used to, the stuff that you're interested in, it doesn't. I always say that everything has faults. It's just whether or not you care about them or not. Mm-hmm. So if you don't care about the Marvel names and you care about the DC names, then just don't read the DC books. Then if it bothers you enough that it takes you completely out of it and you can't read it. But the Marvel roster is no less ridiculous as far as the names go. But I think that I think that you just have to take it for what it is and have fun with it. And you have to think too about the fact that, and it's not like a reason why you should like them, but a lot of those DC villains and heroes came first. And so they didn't really have any like roadmap for when they were naming them, and they had no designs on the fact that they would be around in 75 years. When I seriously doubt when Bob Kane and Bill Finger created Batman, they were like, "Oh, in 75 years, this character will be like the highest grossing and most popular character that has probably ever been invented in modern fiction." Like they would never have thought that. So when they're naming things, some character Batman and Catwoman and stuff like that, they're not thinking about that. So,
we get used to it, and that's part of it. But man, it's got to be hard coming up with superhero names, to be honest.
Well, yeah, I mean, look what Bendis did right with the X-Men. There's like that Gold Balls guy.
Gold Balls, yes.
Who was an awesome character, right?
It's like the best superhero name, Gold Balls.
But I think a part that's Bendis partly saying, right, like Um, obviously it's ridiculous naming superheroes, and the way they kind of named them in the past, like there might have been a character named Gold Balls, because of the way they named heroes in the past, and I think that's fine. Like I'm referencing Bendis again, like when he created Jessica Jones, right? There is no like really like superhero alias
Mm-hmm.
for that character. She was a former superhero who just went by her first name, her real name. So
Mm-hmm.
it's tough when you create new heroes, I think, to do that stuff. But
Yeah.
it's I like it when it's somewhat ridiculous. Like it has to have some amount of ridiculousness to it. Or why are we writing stories about characters who wear you know colorful costumes and jump off of buildings?
Yeah.
Like I don't need them to be in that way serious. Like the character, like when I read a book and my best time in a book, even if it's wholly ridiculous, I want it to have some sort of character and story integrity, because you can do
Mm-hmm.
something that's ridiculous and still have character and story integrity.
Oh yeah.
Um, but what they're named and what they look like and all that stuff, like I want them to be fanciful and crazy, like people in dark t-shirts and dark pants. Like that's not fun to me. Sure, it might be what things look like in real life. It might be more serious, but like I get enough of real life in real life. I want things when I read superhero comics, especially not the indie stuff. The indie stuff can be. I like to be a
Yeah.
little bit more. Not like to be a little more, but I accept it more for some reason when it can be a
Mm-hmm.
little more down to earth. But in superhero stuff, I want the stories to have resonance and meaning, and I always like reference back to Buffy, which would do these ridiculous storylines, but like deal with real issues inside these ridiculous storylines. That's what I want to see in superhero comics. I don't want to see stuff that just looks like what I can look when I look outside my window.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was one time where I was really into like drawing for a while. Like I was really into drawing. And I was looking through this book on like manga styles and things like that, and was reading about character design. And in the book, they said, where else are you going to be able to have a character with pink hair? Just do it. Just have one with like bright yellow hair. Why not? It's a book. It's a comic book. It makes sense on page, and who cares if it doesn't look good in real life, because of the way that the presentation of the visual media, things like that stand out, and it draws your attention to the character. And that's how we get yellow spandex. And it's ridiculous and it doesn't translate well to other media, but in comics it's perfect. Just
Yeah,
like the
exactly.
name Wolverine.
Exactly. Uh, and it's a big tenet in animation as well, right? Like you have animated movies are generally not that long; they're an hour and a half. They generally have a lot of characters in them, and the way that you make the characters stand out to people is more by visual look than it is by even the way they're written.
Hmm.
That obviously enhances them and makes them fantastic characters. But and it's one of the reasons I forgot what I was listening to. I was listening to a podcast. It might have been Talking Movies actually, where they talked about Mad Max Fury Road, right? And how George Miller had done, Happy Feet and Babe and stuff like that, and how they seem so incongruous to what he does with Mad Max. But if you watch Mad Max, it's characters you don't get a ton of development for, but they all have super unique looks. They all have one or two very unique properties to them that make them stand out to you. And that stuff it's very important in comics, because one of my biggest issues sometimes reading comics that are more reality based, and even superhero comics, is that sometimes when it's not a movie, right? So in a movie, when it's an actor and a different actor, no matter how close they look to one another,
You
you're
can
going to
tell
know
them
the
apart.
difference between them
Hmm.
because they're people, right? And they have voices, automatically you have like a human connection with them, and you know that they're a person, and that you can tell them apart. In a comic book, if you have two characters or three characters in the first couple pages that all have dark hair and are all about the same build, it's confusing. And
Hmm.
I leave those books being like, I don't know. I kind of was confused for the first 5 pages about who anybody was.
Yeah.
And
Manga is really bad about that because it's all in black and white too.
oh, true. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
Um,
I get confused so often.
so when you have these big, colorful characters with these crazy big names, and they're very over the top, it's very easy to remember them. And like you were
Hmm.
saying, Mara, it goes the other way too. And sometimes I think as comic book fans, we get bristly about when they bring things to other mediums and they don't take them exactly. They don't take the costume exactly. They don't look exactly how they look. And we're like, why didn't they do that? I guarantee you at some point in the process, they screen tested it and they tried it. And it looked silly on screen. And it just didn't work. And I think sometimes you need to have the guts to go ahead and, even if you think it might look silly, and do it. And I think Marvel has kind of proven that over the years. Iron Man basically looks like Iron Man. They have Captain American costumes that basically look like Captain America.
Mm-hmm.
Thor looks like Thor, stuff like that. But there's a reason Thor doesn't walk around in the movies wearing that helmet all the time. Like it looks cool for the couple of shots you see it in. Same thing with Loki. Loki's a little bit easier because he's a big theatrical villain, so it works more. But if Thor is sitting having a dramatic conversation with somebody and he's wearing a big winged helmet in a movie, it's not going to play the same way it plays in a comic book.
Mm-hmm.
And so you need it's a balance, right? And I think that silliness is. I think being silly is important in visual design because it makes things memorable. It makes things iconic. But I think that you have to balance it. Like anything else, it's just a balance.
Yeah.
So
I'm okay with the silly names. I mean, they don't bother me too much.
Me too.
I guess, part of it is grew up with it. So.
Absolutely. But even ones I didn't grow up with. Like, I mean, there's a character that Bob always talks about called the Wizard, that's a really stupid name. He's a villain, so it doesn't even sound very imposing,
Mm-hmm.
But even ones I didn't grow up with, like Firestorm and stuff like that, like there's something special about the name Firestorm, but or Killer Frost, but and they're very on the nose names for what they are, but they're very evocative. Like if I say Killer Frost to you, you already know it's a bad guy or a bad woman, and they have some sort of ice power. You know that immediately. Firestorm, you're not sure exactly what it is, but you're pretty sure something to do with heat. And so I think that that's important in comics. But we were going to talk about Nimona being optioned for a movie, which is really awesome. But we're already 10 minutes over time, and I have to go to work, Mara.
Yeah, and I have to actually go write some stuff down.
But Nimona's going to be a movie, which is awesome. I want to say too, I think it's awesome that they cast Chris Hemsworth as the receptionist in the Ghostbusters movie.
Ah, man.
That is really, really cool. And I like this. Chris Hemsworth, I think, is trying to do more comedy and stuff like that. He's in the Vacation reboot or remake or reimagining or whatever, the sequel, whatever the hell it is that's coming out. I think that's cool. It's really cool that he's playing the Janine character from the first Ghostbusters movie. I like that a lot. And then I want to say very sad news, but Christopher Lee at the age of 93, storied. I think he's done. It's like hundreds of films.
World record is what I read.
World record, yes.
For most films appearing in.
Yeah, and Dracula, Lord of the Rings, Star Wars are the ones that I know him from the most. But age of 93, he passed away. Very, very sad, but he had an amazing career, amazing life. And he's one of those guys who he's very, very genre. And I feel like for a long time he was a cult actor. And then he's one of the biggest evidences of the way culture changed at a certain point, and became someone that everyone knew. Everyone knew his face at a certain point. And just seems like an amazing guy and so committed to the things that he loved, and a geek. He was a super geek before it was cool to be a super geek, and that's great. And he will definitely be missed. So watch some Christopher Lee movies this weekend, and say goodbye to a legend. And that's gonna do it for Comics and Coffee. If you guys want to get in touch with me, I am at Bobby Shortle on Twitter. Mara
at Mega Maramon.
That's the first time I've seen the saying of it in a very, very long time. If you want to reach us on Twitter, it's at Talking Comics. Use the hashtag Talking Java if you want us to see it. Comics and Coffee. And yeah, we'll be back next week with another edition of Comics and Coffee. Thank you for starting your day out the nerdy way with us. Have a great weekend.